Anna Maria, and welcome to Page to Screen, where we explore the art and craft of screenwriting and independent filmmaking. Joining us tonight is actor, screenwriter, producer, and instructor, J.R. Robles.
Hey. Thanks so much, Anna Maria. It's exciting to be here.
Well, it's great and exciting to have you here. You sure are doing an awful lot these days with all the different projects you're involved in. Acting, writing, teaching, filmmaking. There's just so many different things. And of course, there's Dare to Fail. We want to talk about that a little later. I'm very excited about that project.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about that.
But first, just give us a little bit of information about JR. Tell us about you.
Okay, well, let's see. I live in Nashville. I'm a Nashville-based filmmaker, teacher, all those things that you just said. Let's see. I guess I got into the industry mainly as an actor. I started acting in 2017 professionally, and I've done a lot of acting before that too.
Professionally, as in?
Well, like commercials and auditioning for films and TV shows and things like that. I guess that's when I first got like representation as an actor and everything. So I guess that's kind of how I demarcate that. But I had been doing it in college, doing theater in college and stuff too. But all that like kind of, I don't know, I guess that started in 2017 thereabouts. And I've been in Nashville since about then. And yeah, I moved here because I think I saw Jeffrey Wright, the actor, put out an interview, and someone was asking him, you know, what do you do if you like want to make it as in the industry, if you want to be an actor, and he said, well, the first thing you should do is just move to a city, like a city, and I was in a small town at the time, that kind of, it made sense to move to Nashville as the closest city, and I already had some friends here, so yeah, I moved here and decided that I wanted to make a go of it in the industry. But yeah, most of my writing is geared towards script writing. So.
Well, you do an awful lot of different things. As I said, you know, writing, instructing, etc. It's a word I think is called hyphenate, multi-hyphenate.
I've been called a multi-hyphenate before.
Right,
yeah.
Right, which just means you're a jack of all many trades, but the thing is that you're really great at all of it, which is fantastic, right?
I have ADHD, so I have to do all those things all at the same time.
And do it well.
Yeah.
You know, your background is, you know, your own home background, your home group. You were telling me earlier, I know that, you know, you were raised to do well in whatever you did, whatever you pursued.
I think my mom would appreciate you saying that.
I'm fully aware.
Yeah.
You know, but seriously, you know, when folks act and write and do filmmaking and directing, things just sort of play off one another. Tell us how all the different things that you do play off one another and you know, create something better.
Yeah. If I was just going to be an actor, that really limited me, I was thinking, and I still kind of think this, like, just being an actor, it's a wonderful thing, but for me, it kind of closed off some other creative avenues, and so as I learned more about filmmaking, I'd always kind of been into film just as an art form, but as I learned about more practical stuff about filmmaking, it kind of made sense that okay, if I'm going to be an actor in Nashville, I got to just make my own stuff. You know,
I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, and I feel like there's just so much truth to it.
Yeah.
You know, like as a writer, as an actor, you have to really know how to analyze a script, I think. I think if you're going to make a really go at it, anyway.
And as a screenwriter?
Well, I think it really helps to be in the position of an actor, whether it's like doing a skit with your pals, or you know, maybe taking an acting class and looking at a script from that point of view. I do think that if you have experience acting as a screenwriter, it gives you a particular insight.
What kind?
A number of insights, I think. It gives you an insight to the process that an actor has to go through when they are working on your words. You know what I mean? Well,
actually, no, because that's why I'm asking, because I'm not an actress or an actor. I'm like, what does one think like when you're sitting there getting ready to write?
Yeah.
Right. You're thinking in both spheres. It's essentially what you want to show up, but also how the different actor, what the actor needs in order from you as a screenwriter. So to me, like it's fascinating and it's extraordinarily talented to be able to think like that.
I think if you're writing, for me, I try to simplify it as much as possible. I try not to really think. So I've written a few things for particular actors, and I try not to think about that too much. Like, how is this actor going to do this part? I just kind of, I put the character in a place. They want something. There's going to be all kinds of stuff that gets in their way of getting it. Do they get it or do they not? Like, that's kind of where I start. But I think the stuff you're talking about with considering what an actor's process is with the words, that definitely comes in as you revise and as you get to sort of through the different stages of drafting. When you get to a table read, for instance, it's great to have a cast of like actors around, even if they're not going to play the parts, that have certain access to their instincts, and are really attuned with those things. It can really be useful in revisions.
Well, let's get into that a little bit. Talk about some of your film projects.
It's a pilot called Compassionate Karen in the Big Bad World. What if you had a Karen character archetype who maybe got into some hot water and then out of that wanted to rehabilitate not just her own personal image, but also wanted to really reach out and help the world, right? And so
redemption and reformation.
Yeah, and so the idea with that show is that she really wants to do that, but there's a lot of other things that kind of get in the way of her doing that.
Yeah.
Right? And so we shot the first episode here in Nashville. We had a lot of really great people on it, and so we had a really clear vision of who Karen was and what her relationship was to her family, what her relationship was to her community, to herself, and the process of an actor kind of figuring out those things, it's not very different to me than a writer coming up with those things. And so when you're really lucky, you have like that sort of weird communion that happens. It's a weird magic between when you have these two different arts kind of melding together. And that's what we had with Karen, and hopefully I think we're going to release it pretty soon. So.
But I know you have another one you could talk about. Tell us a little bit about your other project.
Okay, sure. Well, I just shot a short film called Hey There, Stranger. It was a Western. I was so happy with it. So we just screened it for the 48-hour film project here. And so that was one where we had a team of writers. And by the way, anybody's watching this, if you've not done the 48-hour film project, you should totally do it. It's so much fun. And you can make a lot of really cool connections that way. And other types of like timed film contests, I think, are really useful for sort of building the muscle, So we got a writer's room together, and there were 3 people in that room. And then I was kind of like checking in. So I was shooting another project out of state, and so I was calling in while they were shooting. And this all happens like in 48 hours, right? So 7 o'clock they start writing this thing, and by midnight they've got a script done. And how
long is the script that you wrote?
We ended up, I think our script was about 8 pages, and then the film ended up being like 7 minutes long. When we got there on the day, I think maybe this is a unique experience for these time film contests, but when we got there on the day, we felt pretty good about the draft we had, but the practical elements of what we were doing that day just kind of added to what we had in this, what was not there in the script yet. You know what I mean? And it kind of, the collaborative aspect of it really just kind of happened. You know what I mean?
It's great. It's magical like that, right?
Isn't it? Like, and I think, I've been on other sets where this kind of happens, but generally in a sort of, professional level production, you have the script that's kind of already done. And you know, making changes to it, it's not necessarily unheard of or anything, but like, you know, there's a process that goes into it. But when you're doing like this guerrilla style filmmaking with, hey, we got our friends and we're doing it, like it can get kind of nuts.
But your adrenaline is going, and the creativity is just popping all over the place.
Yeah.
And people are expecting it to just change, and you don't have time to get all upset.
We did some major surgery on that script while we were shooting it. But
and you had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Let's talk a little bit about one of the other great talents that you have, and that is helping writers, instructing writers. So, you know, what do you see in the up-and-coming, you know, screenwriters? What do you see that's exciting? That you see their passion, you see the direction, the optimism.
Yeah.
What's positive about all of it?
Well, first of all, anybody who just decides to set out and write and sort of feel like they have something to say and actually try to say it, I think that's something that we all should celebrate and we should all support. It's really, honestly, I don't mean to sound corny, but if I do, I don't really care. It's a really brave...
Corny is good.
Yeah,
I like corny.
It's a really brave thing to do, right? I think a lot of times, I think many of us have grown up with an idea about our own writing that is all wrapped up in a lot of negativity, right? It's wrapped up in maybe all kinds of anxieties that we have. And one of the things I like to tell my students is that your writing is your avatar for yourself in the world. It stands for you in the world when you can't be there, because...
Oh, that is a really great way to look at that. Yeah.
It's literally what it does, right? And so when you put your name on something, you want it to be a that doesn't mean it's perfect, it doesn't mean
right.
It should be a representation of you.
Right, as opposed to you're imitating someone else.
Right.
This is me.
Yes. It's your name on the top of the page, right? It's your name on the title page. So I think that's a really important idea for writers in all kinds of genres, that ultimately it's got to be you, right? Your writing is you, you know? And I tell that to my, you know, I teach freshman college in college, and like I tell that to them about their essays that they write for me, and I tell that to people that I have in workshops, in screenwriting workshops. Like what people look for, I think, in my experience, is voice, right?
What people? You mean the writers, or do you think are the people who are looking to purchase?
Good question. I mean, yes, those people, but also people who are going to a theater to spend a fun afternoon.
Right.
You know?
So it's the consumer, it's the writer, it's the person or organization or group of individuals who are buying the screenplay or the playwright, you know, to just perform.
We all find ourselves in some of those roles from time to time. But
they're all looking for something that's authentic.
I think so, and ultimately we all like fun movies. We all like interesting movies. We all like movies that challenge us, you know? And so, yes, I mean, there are a lot of stakeholders in the film industry, in the world of cinema, with very practical reasons for wanting to see a movie or read a script. But, I mean, everybody comes from loving movies.
Right.
You know? So, and the thing that everybody looks for is your voice, your individual voice.
Well, let's talk about Dare to Fail. I haven't been in one of those yet, but I'd like to learn more about what it's like to be there, what prompted you to create it, what happens. So
my friend Steve Parnell, he's a dear friend of mine. I've known him for a long time. We met on a commercial for CMT, and then we later did an O'Charlie's commercial, and then we just basically became bros for life. He found himself going to this arts collective gathering once a month, where you'd get challenged to create a piece of art and then showcase it at this gathering. And so, as being the enterprising actor that he was like, well, what if you did this but just for film, right? And so he came to me with this idea. He's like, JR, what about this? And the idea is we do a monthly showcase of films.
Will you say who's we?
we, like me and Steve, we put this out to the world.
Okay.
And the people whoever is around can take part in it, right? And so we put out a theme every month, and then we just invite anybody who wants to. You can make a 1-minute film somehow related to this theme, and if you send it in by the deadline, we'll screen your film. Come to the event. You got to be there for us to screen it.
So where's the event?
Well, we have a few
change?
different locations. The main way that we communicate with people is on Instagram. Dare to fail film. Let's see, dare_to_fail_film. If you go to our page, it's right here, like how to submit, right? So the way you do it is you make your movie, right? Let's say you've already made it. So you email us, I believe it's daretofailfilm@gmail.com. Email it to us there, and if it's a 1-minute film, it's probably not a problem to do that. But you can also WeTransfer or Google Drive link or whatever. Send it to us by the deadline that we have, and it's usually 3 days before the show. And in order for us to screen your film, you got to show up to the show. If you don't show up, we don't screen. That's our only request. So,
wow! And so how many people come? Like the last one you had, or the last couple? How many people showed up?
We certainly pack the venues that we have every time. I know that I believe Third Coast has, I think, a 200-seat venue, or 250 maybe, something like that, and we filled it up.
Well, I think we have a clip that we want to take a look at.
Ooh, a clip!
A clip,
Yes.
It's like I have a demon inside me.
Congratulations. Out of thousands of submissions, you have been chosen for absolution.
Good morning, Sleepy.
You have very lovely skin, and I just need to wear it.
You're the best around. Nothing's gonna ever keep you down. You're the best.
Is this really the face of a loser? Didn't think so.
She asked me to but I'm just not that desperate.
Why would you even come with us if you're not going to help? Dude, calm down. Eat.
I'm gonna start with these pumpkin donuts. Oh, these are good. There's nothing better than bread, you guys.
Pure emotion, pure pleasure.
Yeah, I know they're understaffed because nobody wants to work.
This shit is pissing me off.
Of something like this for screenwriters?
Sure, yeah. So I think a lot of screenwriters kind of get wrapped up in one script that they're just obsessing over. I don't know if that sounds familiar to anybody. And I understand that. I get that. I've got a couple that I've been working on for years and years, right? I think the value of something like this is, first of all, you start, you do it, and it's done. Right, you go through the whole process. Pretty, it's not easy. It's definitely challenging, but you do the whole thing, and then you get to see something finished.
It's a sense of accomplishment. It's a sense of completion. It's not dragging on for years on end in your head and on the page, but it's actually on film, and everybody sees it.
Yes, yes. I mean, that does hormonally. It does stuff to your brain. It makes you feel good.
Of course, of course. Well, our hormones in our brains are important.
Also, I think it adds to your catalog of completed stuff that you've done. Right.
Right.
Especially if you're a screenwriter who's not been produced yet. You can kind of see and get comfortable with your work getting molded for a film, right? I mean, it's a naturally collaborative process, and it kind of needs to happen sometimes, doesn't it? So, yeah.
So, do you have an issue for our TSA members?
Oh, a challenge? Surely there's like 20 people in TSA who can write a 1-minute script.
I'm sure. 20, please.
And surely there's people in TSA who have a camera.
And even an iPhone.
Maybe, a camera that shoots video. And I venture to say that people in TSA have like friends that they could ask to be in their films.
Friends? We have friends.
I know
my gosh.
it's a tough ask for screenwriters. Yes.
Yeah. Just in general. Oh my heavens! So we have phones. We have cameras.
Yes.
We have friends. And who else? Tell me. So get to the challenge.
Well, I think you have all you need to make a film, don't you?
Oh. I don't know. Is that what you're saying? That we have to get our friends and what's the challenge?
Somebody have a gauntlet that I can throw down. I'm throwing it down. Throwing down the gauntlet, TSA. Let's see some Dare to Fail films.
All right. Are you ready for some questions from our wonderful audience?
Yes.
TSA members?
I hope so. I hope I'm ready.
Well, you better be, because they're coming up.
Okay.
Ready?
Let me stretch. Okay.
All right.
Let's go.
Hi, I'm Paula. We really appreciate you coming to impart knowledge on our group tonight.
Thank you so much, Paula.
It's kind of you to spend your time. I have kind of a stupid question coming from somebody who writes and never actually made a movie.
Okay.
Do I need editing software to do this?
Not a stupid question. Good question. Yeah, you probably need some editing software. A lot of times, I and a lot of other people use iMovie on the iPhone, or on the iMac on the computer. So
that's adequate for that purpose?
I think so. Okay. Now, if you know how to use Premiere, if you know how to use DaVinci or anything like that, go for it. That's another thing that we like to do with Dare to Fail is encourage people, challenge people to try to learn something new in the process, whether it's acting or writing or editing, music, something like, it's a great way to do that with really low stakes, right? Like, it's a 1-minute short film that is going to get screened, and you don't have to pay. It's free, by the way. It's free to send your film in. Like, we don't charge money for this. So, the only thing that you're putting up is whatever you put into the movie, and your time to come to the show. So.
Great, thank you. It sounds like a good opportunity to stretch.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
I feel like I've been challenged a lot, and I've learned a lot from it, just producing it and watching other people's work too. I've never seen a bad film at Dare to Fail. They've all been lovely,
now
wonderful.
That's a challenge for me. I can make a bad one.
Okay, let's see it. Let's see what you got.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Could you kind of cover maybe some of the fundamentals of like writing a very short film and how one can write one without it coming off like a comedy sketch?
Great question. Well, first of all, nothing wrong with comedy sketches, in my opinion. I love comedy sketches. It's a great exercise to write a comedy sketch. But in general, as for short films, one of the things I like to say about those is that a short film should tell a whole story, but it doesn't have to tell the whole story, if that makes sense, right? A lot of times a short film well, let me say this. A lot of films are like just short films sort of tied together, right? So so you can think about that idea of a story happening in medias res, like right in the middle of things. It can be like a little slice of a much larger thing that might happen. That's great practice for cliffhangers. That's great practice for, like beat changes and things like that. Get the story that you want first, and then work with what you have. Gosh, that was a lot of information, but hopefully that kind of answers your question.
Yeah, you definitely answered it.
Okay, great.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Oh man, we are out of time, but I want to offer you a standing invitation to come back and visit with us anytime, JR.
Okay, I'll take you up on that. Thanks.
You better. Now, Page to Screen is sponsored by the Tennessee Screenwriting Association. To find out more about the TSA, including our meeting schedule, or to become a member, visit us online at www.tenscreen.com. That's TENN screen.com. Or check out our Facebook page. We meet online through Zoom every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central, except on the last Wednesday of the month when we meet right here in the studio. Page to Screen also has its own Facebook page, which you can see on your screen, and that's going to have the most up-to-date information on the show's calendar and guests. JR, do you have any final words of wisdom for our storytellers and filmmakers right here in the audience, as well as out there in the great world?
I would just say check out Dare to Fail on Instagram and keep doing what you're doing.
That's really great advice. Thanks. My name is Anna Maria, and thanks for watching Page to Screen. And remember, keep writing.